And it's time for a basic announcement. Yes, we got a little announcement because, well, it's happened. We've got a winner for the Cheap Lager Championship. That is it. We're going to crown one beer the winner, and that's it. I don't have to do the Cheap Lager Championship anymore. Only joking. But we do have a winner. We have a winner for the Cheap Lager Championship, even though the quarterfinals hasn't even happened yet. So don't worry, you've not missed a load of videos. The quarterfinals has not happened yet, but will happen. But it will happen after I have already crowned the winner. So the winner of the Cheap Lager Championship, which is way better than any of the other beers in the entire championship, is the Feldschlossen. So there we go, well done. The Feldschlossen, the winner of the Cheap Lager Championship. But what's going to happen now? Why have I crowned this the winner, first of all? Well, in the taste test against the Crown Lager at Sainsbury's, the Crown Lager wasn't bad at Sainsbury's, but this was just, it was just really good. It was, you know, it had the bitterness, it had a nice Helles kind of taste, it had maltiness, it was just nice. It was clean, it was crisp, it was interesting, and I wondered going in whether this one would be a lot better than the other ones. And when I was finishing it off later on after the video, as I always do, I just enjoyed it more and more, and I just realised, you know what, this is just a really good beer. Well, you know, it's a good beer. I wouldn't say it's a really good beer. It's a good beer though. It's a good beer. It's far too good to be in the Cheap Lager Championship, and regardless of that, there's nothing else in the Cheap Lager Championship that would even give it a run for its money. So it would be a foregone conclusion. Anything this comes up against, and it would have come up against the Bière de Luxe in the next round, which would be unfair because the Bière de Luxe is pretty good, but it wouldn't beat this. So yeah, so for those of you who had this to win, yeah, this is won. It's won already, which is why it is now being disqualified. But it's not the last we'll see of the Feldschlossen, right? We're going to see the Feldschlossen in the next tournament, which is going to be where I review all the other lagers. It's going to be, I think it'll be a tournament of 32, so it'll be a big one, that, because there's going to be loads of lagers that I have not put in a tournament yet, and they're all going to get put in a tournament, or as many as I can, 32 of them, along with this one. This one is going to get its shot, but it's going to get its shot against stiffer competition than it currently is, because this competition at the moment, OK is really the best quality I'm expecting from the beers, and this is better than OK. So that's it in a nutshell, really. So Feldschlossen has been disqualified, but how can I disqualify it? That's not fair. You can't just disqualify a lager because it's too good. I put forth some criteria, didn't I, at the beginning, and I said anything that matches that criteria was eligible. However, I think one of the criteria I said was, originally I was going to say has to be less than 4.5% ABV. And I think I twisted that a bit to say, okay, if it was 4.5% ABV, we'll just about let it in. But looking at it, there's no other beers, asterisk, no other beers, there is, but there's no other beers that are 4.5%, and I'm not sure if there are any other beers than this one, because this is 4.5%. I don't think there's any other beers that are more than 4. I think 4 is the highest, asterisk with an exception, and we'll come to that in a minute. So basically, this is going to be disqualified on the grounds that it is 4.5%, and to be a true cheap lager, it has to be you have to be able to get 4 cans for under a £5, and also it has to be less than 4.5% ABV, preferably 4 or less. But that means that there is another beer that has to be disqualified to keep things fair. So the other beer that's going to be disqualified, I don't have a can here because I didn't want to drink it, is a can of Budweiser. So Budweiser is also going to be disqualified. We can't have Budweiser in the competition anymore because the rules now, I'm going to go to my original rules that I was going to have, where the beer has to be less than 4.5% ABV. And that will basically cut out anything, because the thing about this is, I'm sure Perlenbacher and Rheinbacher, those kind of beers, I'm sure they're only about 4.6% or maybe a little bit higher than that. So they're only a tiny bit more strong than this, but they are similar price points. I'm putting this in the same bracket as things like Perlenbacher and Rheinbacher and stuff like that. They'll be in the next competition. I think that's the place where this should be, in the next competition. This will do quite well in the next competition. So for that reason, because things like Perlenbacher and Rheinbacher and Steinhauser and stuff are not allowed in the competition, this one, just because it is incredibly good value for money and it's a budget German lager, doesn't mean it gets in the Cheap Lager Championship. So there you go. My championship, my rules. But not the only controversy that's going to happen. So this has gone, and the Budweiser's gone as well. But something else. Looking at the table now, looking at what the table would have been, without these beers in it, or sorry, what am I talking about? Looking at what this table would have been, had we just put things through, we would have ended up with a quarter final that would look a little bit strange. Well, it would look a little bit like this. Let's show you what the quarter final would have looked like. So we would have had the Galahad against the Coors, and we would have had the, well, something that would replace the Budweiser against the cold beer. Then we would have had the Ashfield against the Excelsior, not the Excelsior, the Ashfield against the Carters. Sorry, I'm trying to do this from memory. The Ashfield against the Carters, and then the Bière Deluxe would have taken on the, well, it would have taken on the Excelsior possibly, or it would have been taken on the Excelsior, and then would have had to find something to go in the place of the Budweiser. Anyway, I'm thinking, now that there's 2 slots opened up, what would go in them? Well, the Feldschlossen will be replaced by the Excelsior, because I said I put the Excelsior in the bottom half of the draw, and why not? This has been disqualified, stick it in there. And the Budweiser, I would replace that with the Crown, because the Crown Lager got knocked out by the Feldschlossen. It wasn't a bad lager, the Crown Lager, it just went up against this. It's competition. But then, what that would do is it would have the Crown against the, it would have the Galahad against the Coors, and it would have the Crown Lager against the cold beer, and then it would have the Ashfield against the Carters, and the Bière Deluxe against the Excelsior, which would give the Excelsior. So to cut a long story short, because it is getting very long, what I want is the beers that I think, certainly the beers that I think that are the top 3, I want them meeting in the semi-final. I want all the top 3 getting into the semi-final. The ones that I think are the 3 best at the moment. And with the draw currently as it is, they're not going to. So, to avoid that, I'm going to mix it up a little bit. And I've basically just shoved in the Excelsior, I've shoved in the Crown Lager, I've taken out the Budweiser, taken out the Feldschlossen, and just moved them around a bit to get a fair quarter-final draw. And I said I don't do seedings, but I do want to sort of spread out the stronger beer, the better beers a little bit more, just to make it a little bit more interesting, the semi-final, so we don't end up with any rubbish beers getting into the semi-final or, God forbid, the final. So this is what the quarter-final is going to look like. After all that rabbiting, the quarter-final is going to look like this now. We're going to have the Crown against the Coors. So we're sticking that in there. And then the Galahad against the cold beer. I didn't want to put the Coors against the cold beer because they're 2 kind of American-style lagers there. So I just moved the Galahad up against the cold beer. The Crown, I say, up against the Coors, the first half. Then we've got the Ashfield is then going to go against the Excelsior instead of going against the Carters, because again, otherwise the Excelsior would have gone against the Bière Deluxe, which would have been a bit unfortunate for whichever lost that. And there's no point in the Excelsior losing to a really good beer and then being given a second chance against a really good beer again. So Ashfield is going up against the Excelsior, Bière Deluxe against the Carters. Okay, that is what the quarterfinals is going to look like. If you don't like it, it doesn't matter. It's my championship and I'm doing what I want with it. And that's basically how it's going to look. So I'm hoping that's going to be more interesting for you guys to watch. I'm hoping it's more interesting for me to do as well, with it spread up a little bit more like that, because then we'll have better semi-finals. We'll have more close semi-finals. We won't have semi-finals where we've got something like, for example, the Ashfield up against the Bière Deluxe. But who knows? Who knows? The Ashfield might beat the Excelsior. I've not drank that for a while. It's going to be really interesting to see what actually happens. I can't predict what's going to pan out here at all. So there we go. So we have got it all mixed up now. We've got it all ready to go. We've got, we've got the tournament all ready. We've got the new quarterfinal. I have rabbited for far too long. I was going to crack this open and start drinking it, but you know what? I'll probably just do it after I've finished. So there we go. It's all done. Quarterfinals are going to be coming. But until then, have a good one.